Hello writers, come write with me. My name is Mykela Greenwood. I create worlds for mind adventures. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Write with Mykela. Don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell so you can go on this journey with me. Today is Tuesday, so we're going to look at personalities again. When I was a teacher, we had to go to a lot of continuing education classes. Many of these classes were to help us know more about ourselves or our students. Some of these things will help us as writers. Now, I will say that a lot of these classes felt like they were putting us in a box, or our students in a box. And sometimes the boxes don't fit. So we aren't diagnosing anyone here. One of these classes asked us to pick our favorite shape between a square, a triangle, a circle, and a zigzag or squiggly line. I think they asked us to draw them on our paper and then pick one. I, of course, being a math teacher, chose the triangle because the triangle is the strongest shape and 3 points make a plane, etc. So there was influence on my choice, and this didn't necessarily fit my personality. Let's dive into some of what the class taught. Squares were your aggressive people. Aggressive people are individuals that express their feelings and opinions and advocate for their needs in a way that violates the rights of others. Thus, they are verbally and or physically abusive. They often try to dominate others. Excuse me. Or they use humiliation to control others. They criticize, blame, or attack others. And they can be very impulsive. Aggressive people have low frustration tolerance. And they speak in a loud, demanding, and overbearing voice. They act threateningly and rudely. They do not listen well and interrupt frequently. They use you statements, which communication courses will teach you is not the healthy way to communicate. And we'll touch on that in a little bit. They have, aggressive personalities have an overbearing or intimidating posture. The impact of this personality is to become alienated from other people or alienate other people. They generate fear and hatred in others. And they always blame others instead of owning their issues. And thus, they are unable to mature. Basically, they are a bully or even a narcissistic person. Now, certainly, you can see why teachers need to understand this personality. But as writers, where would we cast this type of person? I think this would be a great antagonist. Think of Cruella de Vil in the movie 101 Dalmatians. She constantly belittled Horace and Jasper. She yelled. She dominated. Cruella was definitely an aggressive person. Or think of the Queen of Hearts in Alice in Wonderland. She was always shouting, "Off with her head! Off with her head!" I'm sure we could think of rulers in real life in the past and clearly see they were aggressive personalities. Many people might not easily understand this strong, abusive personality, but when we're writing, we need the antagonist to be strong against our protagonist. Moreover, the antagonist can't be someone who is second-guessing themselves or their motive. They need to be strong and domineering. That's definitely antagonist type person. Now, the next shape, which is the shape I liked based on my math background, was the triangle. In class, they described the triangle as passive-aggressive person. Okay. A passive-aggressive person is an individual who who appears passive on the surface, but who is really acting out their anger in a subtle or indirect or behind the scenes kind of way. People who are passive aggressive usually feel powerless, stuck, and resentful. In other words, they feel incapable of dealing directly with the object or bully of their resentments. Instead, they express their anger by subtly undermining the object, real or imagined, of their resentments, or the person of their resentments. Passive-aggressive people will often mutter to themselves rather than confront the person or issue. They have difficulty acknowledging their anger. They use facial expressions that don't match how they feel. For example, they may smile when they are really angry. They use sarcasm or deny there is a problem. They appear cooperative while purposely doing things to annoy or disrupt things or plans. They use subtle sabotage to get even. And the impact of this is to become alienated from those around them, or they remain stuck in a position of powerlessness. And they discharge resentment while they never address the real issues. So they can't mature either. So we're looking at some immature people here. That's just a part of the definition, which we were dealing with students, so you would expect that. Now, this passive-aggressive personality is definitely something a teacher needs to watch for, because this subtle behavior is harder to spot, but it is almost it's an almost natural response to a bully. Now, as a writer, who in your stories could this be? You may not have a passive-aggressive person, but certainly someone under an aggressive bully or narcissist would certainly be tempted to overturn the apple cart. Idiom alert. Have to throw some fun stuff in there every once in a while. This passive-aggressive person might have a lot of jealousy, or this person might have such high frustration of having no power that they switch sides to gain the freedom they desire. Of course, just because they switch sides doesn't mean they switch personalities. Their perspective or perception might make this type of person feel like they jumped out of the frying pan into the fire. Another idiom. This type of person might not know how to act with the freedom they gained from leaving the antagonist. Also, think of your character's history. Maybe this character had an aggressive parent that forced them in their mind to become passive-aggressive. This is something familiar to them, and it takes a lot of effort for someone to change personality types or styles. So, now let's look at the circle person. This class said that the circle person was passive. A passive person is an individual that has developed a pattern of avoiding expressing their opinions or feelings. They avoid protecting their rights or identifying and meeting their needs. As a result, passive individuals do not respond overtly to hurtful or anger-inducing situations. Instead, they allow grievances and annoyances to mount, but they're usually unaware of the buildup. Once they have reached their high tolerance threshold for unacceptable behavior against them, they are prone to explosive outbursts, which are usually way out of proportion to the triggering incident. After the outburst, however, they may feel shame, guilt, confusion, so they return to being passive. Passive people often fail to assert for themselves and allow others to infringe on their rights deliberately or inadvertently. They fail to express their feelings, needs, or opinions. They tend to speak softly or apologetically and exhibit poor eye contact, have slumped body posture. The impact of this is that these individuals often feel anxious because life seems out of their control. They often feel depressed because they feel stuck and hopeless. They feel resentful, but they're unaware of that because no one, including themselves, are meeting their needs. No one. Finally, they are unable to mature because they never address the real issues. You get to this one little, the needle that broke the camel's back, as the idiom goes. You get to that one little incident and they explode, but it doesn't address the whole mountain of stuff that built up to that point. So this is someone that people walk all over. This is someone who always says yes to help, even when the yes interferes with them doing something necessary for themselves. Basically, these people allow others to invade their boundaries. I guess the circle was kind of like a squishy pillow kind of thing where you could just kind of push in their boundaries, and their boundaries weren't really solid. As teachers, we needed to help these students not let others take advantage of them. But sometimes the student was so malleable that they would say, "No, miss, it's okay." Now, in life, this is another type of person who has grown up under or around a bully. In Harry Potter, many characters expected the house elves to be a passive character as servants or slaves to their master. But we saw some who were passive-aggressive instead of passive. So if we have a character who is passive, remember, they may have outbursts, but the passive-aggressive will try to thwart plans. Certainly, if you have a ruler or government that expects passive citizens or subjects, the protagonist can help free these people. So when we're writing, this might be a character under the antagonist, and usually it won't be a major role or a major character, unless, of course, you have a false antagonist and some other character is just pulling the strings of this circle person, of this passive person. In Eleni, one of my stories, the entire village is passive. They live in tyranny. It's very bad. They don't say no. They just go, yes, we'll do this, and they try to do everything. And they do that until they get to their breaking point, which is the subtitle of that story. And the breaking point. The tyranny of the ruling king in that story makes it impossible to do anything else until they are willing, the people of the village are willing to leave the comfort of their homes and their village. Just like, leave the garden, leave your home, leave your blankets, your extra clothes, and go. And the tyranny in that story gets so bad that these people, many of these people are willing to leave. So they're passive until that point. Now, the last type is the zigzag or the squiggly line. This is an assertive person. An assertive individual can clearly state his or her opinion, and he or she can advocate for his or her rights and needs without violating the rights of others. Now that's important because the aggressive person would violate people's needs or violate their rights, and the assertive person does not. So these individuals, the assertive individuals, value themselves, their time, their emotional, spiritual, and physical needs, and they are strong advocates for themselves while being very respectful of the rights of others. Assertive people will state needs and wants and feelings clearly, appropriately, and respectfully. They use I statements, which communication classes highly recommend because it takes blame out of the conversation. I'm going to differentiate now between the I statement and the you statement. An I statement would be something along the lines of, I feel hurt or unappreciated when I'm not acknowledged for what I do. As opposed to a you statement like, you hurt me when you didn't acknowledge all that I contributed to the project. Do you see the difference in that? And you can hear the difference and you can feel the difference. So the I statements just relating yourself to the other person and not really putting blame on them like you didn't do this or you act like this. So it's just like, I feel validated when this, I feel this, so it's speaking and using I statements instead of the aggressive person who would use the you and blame people. And that was a huge, huge piece of one of the communication classes that I took. So if you have a chance to take a communication class, you probably should. They're very good. Assertive people communicate respect for others, and they listen without interrupting. They feel in control of self. They have good eye contact. They speak in a clear and calm tone of voice and have relaxed body posture. They feel connected to others and they feel competent. They do not allow others to abuse or manipulate them, and they stand up for their rights. The impact of this is that these individuals feel connected to others and in control of their lives, and they are able to mature because they address issues and problems as they arise. These people, the assertive people, create a respectful environment for others to grow and mature. Now, naturally, when we were in this class, the people hoped that everyone in the class chose this shape and displayed this personality type. Side note, a squiggly line or zigzag is not a geometrically defined shape. So I would have never chose this one as a geometry teacher. At least not until I learned things from the class. So like I said, it doesn't necessarily, if you picked a circle, that doesn't mean everybody invades your boundaries, okay? If you picked a square, that doesn't mean you're aggressive, or a triangle, you're passive aggressive. This was just, they just drew shapes to do this, so it may not match. But if you have an assertive student, these are well-adjusted students who have healthy relationships at home, no codependency. These students are autonomous. Okay, drum roll. Who in your story should be the assertive person? This could very well be your protagonist. While our protagonist has learning and growing to do and isn't perfect, this assertive behavior or personality would be very beneficial. This is someone who values everyone on his or her side and values what each person brings to the table. Another idiom. This person doesn't have to have everything his or her way and is capable of compromising as well as communicating effectively and efficiently. Well, writers, there is no writing assignment today, but hopefully this information will help you develop your characters. Don't feel limited to where I place these personalities. That's just where I see them. You could write something totally different. Remember this. We took passive voice out of our stories, so our stories would have more action. And a passive personality probably won't move our story too much unless that person gets to their outburst. Still, that couldn't happen too close to the beginning, because there's a mountain of things before the outburst. So that couldn't happen too close to the beginning. But only after, it could happen only after another character walked all over that character, that passive character. Now, our stories will probably have more of the other three types of people. In Tahia, the common or normal people in the villages could be passive. And you could use this type also in our shared plot too. But in Tahia, these people are not major characters. These characters help the reader ascertain the level of injustice. So they're there so the reader understands how bad it is. With, martial law came in, Tahia went to the woods to hunt, to get food for the family, to trade in the village. Then all of a sudden there's the sign, no one can enter the woods, not for any reason. Doesn't matter how hungry you are. I mean, the sign didn't say that, but basically that was it. You can't go in the woods. So whatever meat you have or whatever, it just needs to last until we... So the people in the village help the reader ascertain the level of injustice in that story. Leave a comment below on what shape you picked, and then tell us if you honestly feel that is your personality type. In my childhood and my first marriage, I was definitely passive aggressive. And I often find myself in relationships where people easily bully me. But I have some assertive friends, and I'm trying to learn from them. It is a long, hard road to be able to be assertive when that is not what you grew up with. So, leave some comments. Join me Friday for Chapter 4 of Tahia, On the Run. Join me Tuesday for more writing jargon or another writing prompt or more about relationships between people. Let me know in the comments if you think this is helpful or what you think I should do next. I'm debating on whether to do a writing assignment next time or euphemisms. I'm going to have to look that up and research euphemisms and see if that's something we can throw in, or maybe it's too close to idioms. I'm not sure, but I'll do some research and we'll see. In between days, visit my website, www.bymykela.com, or just bymykela.com. You can visit my website and read some character bios. If you hit like, subscribe, and the bell notification, then we will continue to write together. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate your participation. If you know someone who would like this video, then please share it with them. This is Mykela with Write with Mykela. Bye for now.